going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be talking about some interesting comments that Giannis Antetokounmpo mentioned about the Chicago Bulls, and I guess the likelihood of him ever joining the Chicago Bulls in the future. Now, at the end of the day, I don't really feel like anything like this would happen now, and I know many people would be talking to me or saying that this video might not really matter in terms of what's happening this season or anything like that, and of course that makes sense. There's no chance Giannis joins the Bulls this season or anything like that, but he mentioned our name. He mentioned the Chicago Bulls. He mentioned our organization. He mentioned how good this organization was, and he mentioned that there is a possibility down the line that he could be playing for the Chicago Bulls. So I want to bring some of those comments to light, and of course, you guys can express your opinions and comments below about what you think Giannis would look like on the Bulls, and where do you think our future would lead with Giannis on the Bulls as well. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and also let me know in the comments below the likelihood of Giannis joining the Chicago Bulls. That's definitely something I feel like a lot of people have been talking about recently. Of course, when he says stuff like that he leaves the door open. And I think that's very smart from Giannis, because at the end of the day, we don't know what Milwaukee Bucks will look like 3, 4, 5 years down the line. Maybe something will be subject to change. Maybe the relationship between the Bucks and Giannis will change from that period of time. There's a lot of unpredictables, there are a lot of variables there that we just don't know about in terms of the future. And that goes for our own team as well. That goes with DeMar, goes with Vucevic, goes with Zach, even goes with guys like Patrick Williams or Kobe White or Io. The list goes on. Lonzo. You don't know what our future is going to look like. We don't know what team we're going to have in 3, 4, 5 years down the line. So it's very, very interesting comment that Giannis brought up, and I just kind of want to talk about it. So as I mentioned before, Giannis is not coming to the Chicago Bulls this season. I think if you're saying it based on this video, Giannis is not coming this season. He's probably not coming next season. The reality is, when it comes to Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's on a very strong team at the moment. The Milwaukee Bucks are a very strong team. Like them or hate them, I know they have players that have done some very dirty things to the Chicago Bulls players over the course of a few years, but of course the Grayson Allen one will stand out for most people. And it's just been that rivalry for a long time, and that rivalry kind of got renewed last season because of all the things that happened, and of course the playoff series as well. So, look, you can say anything you want about the Milwaukee Bucks team. They're a strong team, and in my opinion, they're probably going to be one of those teams you look out for the Eastern Conference to go and once again make it out of the East next year. They're that type of team. We'll wait and see how the outcome will end up being. We'll wait and see if any of those players end up going on a decline, or maybe there are other teams that simply just take them over. We'll wait and see about all those situations. But Giannis is in a very good position. He's on a very long-term contract, making a lot of money on a very competitive team. There's no reason for Giannis to leave the Milwaukee Bucks right now. He's been on the Milwaukee Bucks his entire career. He's grown up there. He's developed over there. The fans love him over there, and of course he's in a chance to win a championship every single season right now with the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't see a reason why he'd want to leave that at the moment. But that's not what he said. Basically, what he said was, when his contract is up, he could see himself playing for the Chicago Bulls. He respects our organization. He obviously respects our fan base. I think he knows we're a good organization. We may have been poorly mismanaged for a long, long time now, but hopefully with this new management scheme in with AK and Eversley and everything like that, that will be a conversation of the past. I think there's I wouldn't say a good chance, I think there's a possibility that Giannis might consider moving and playing for the Chicago Bulls once his contract expires. And in my opinion, if he didn't mention that, there are not many Bulls fans that would be talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo right now. But what is the likelihood of that happening? The fact that he said it, in my opinion, brings the chance. And of course, it will have to depend on how our team looks like in the future as well. If we're still a team relatively competing for the playoffs, competing for the top 4 seeds in the Eastern Conference, I think there's a possibility that Giannis might take a chance on this Chicago Bulls team. Not knowing what we're going to look like in the future, but if we're still battling for the same positions, a generational player like Giannis might be able to take us over the line. But there is a bit of an issue here. Giannis is going to be 32 years old by the time he is out of his Milwaukee Bucks contract. Is a guy like that going to be able to take us to the next level at his age, first and foremost, and maybe at the possibility that some things in his game may have declined? Here's what I have to say to that. This is very similar to what Kevin Durant's conversations are right now. I think Kevin Durant's 33 years old. Many people say that Kevin Durant isn't the same player as he used to be because of all these injuries and everything like that. And there are people like me that are saying Kevin Durant's still one of the best players in the NBA today. And that a guy like him probably could take us to the next level, but you're sacrificing so much that it just might not be able to. Giannis' situation is different. He's talking about, I guess, joining the Chicago Bulls when his contract is expired. After 2026, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent in 2026, and he'll be 32 years old by the time that occurs. So a long way away. Definitely not something we should be discussing now, but of course, not much to talk about. Let's talk about Giannis now. It's a long, long time away until that decision has to be made by Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I'm sure it's just a comment for now. He might not be thinking about in 4 years down the line or anything like that. But we won't have to sacrifice a lot for Giannis, in my opinion. Yes, we might have to give him a big contract. He probably deserves a big contract, even still at 32 years old. But he's going to be the type of player that we're not going to be trading most of our team for. We're not going to be sacrificing every single young player or potential all-star on this team to get Giannis Antetokounmpo. So that's definitely a better opportunity, in my opinion, to get a generational type of player. Someone that, in my opinion, at 32 years old, will still be a good player in the NBA. I think we've seen it over the course of so many years now. So many players. There are so many players that are still so impactful at the NBA, and they're over 32. DeMar DeRozan is only one example of that. LeBron James. I still think Kevin Durant's one of those guys. Stephen Curry, one of those guys. Chris Paul, one of those guys. I'm not sure how old Damian Lillard is, but he's getting around that age as well. One of those guys. So many, and I'm sure the list goes on. You probably know the guys, but all of them seem to still be very impactful at 32, at 33, at 34 years old, and they're only continuing to getting better. This is the modern day NBA, ladies and gentlemen, where maybe the age of a player doesn't necessarily define how good they'll be. Some players just have an act of playing until they're 36, 37, 38 and still balling out. I mean, LeBron James is the prime example of that, and there'll be other players following his lead, in my opinion, and being able to do things like that. So I think Giannis will be the same. And I think Giannis, by the time he's 32, will develop a game beyond just driving and dunking or getting to the foul line. You'd expect he's already improving his three-point shot. He's very, very good from the mid-range last year, and you expect him to be very similar again this year. I think Giannis would be a very good get for the Chicago Bulls, even at 32 years old. And I would absolutely welcome him to this team with open arms. Again, I don't think you turn players like that down, especially if they're unrestricted free agents and they're talking about your team. That's definitely a conversation to be had. But I personally think, at least for now, my opinion on this is that he's going to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks beyond his contract. I think he wants to stay with Milwaukee for his entire career. I know that there's so-called no loyalty in the NBA anymore, and maybe that's the right thing for the NBA teams themselves. But if Giannis had the opportunity to stay on the Milwaukee Bucks his whole career, I think he would do it. I still think players have some elements of loyalty to teams, and that's why you see LeBron going back to Cleveland. Back when he joined the Miami Heat, if there was no loyalty there, he would never do something like that. That's why so many fans, and even Derrick Rose himself, has talked about and openly said they wouldn't mind joining the Chicago Bulls again, because there's loyalty there to the fan bases and the crowd there, and obviously his hometown. There's loyalty to teams by players. There might not be loyalty from teams to players, but players have loyalty to teams and organizations and fans. And if Milwaukee had the chance to sign Giannis on at 32 years old and continue their legacy together, I think Giannis will do that in a heartbeat. But of course, we can't predict the future. Things change, relationships change, sometimes mindsets and goals change. Maybe Milwaukee wants to go for that rebuild in 2026. Something like that could really be important to discuss. But the fact that he mentioned our name is very interesting. And of course, if we had a chance to bring Giannis in, no matter the age, I think it would be a very good idea for the Chicago Bulls to do. Also depends on our future as well. It wouldn't make sense if we're 15th in the Eastern Conference in 2026 and we bring in Giannis. I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. But if we're still competing, we're still trying to compete, we still have a relatively decent team at that time, and Giannis is available, I think we should go for Giannis Antetokounmpo and continue to compete in the Eastern Conference with a very good player who I think would be just as good at 32 years of age. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.